Today we will be studying the various components of the human blood. So the blood is the form of the fluid connective tissue which contains waste products, nutrients, gases, and hormones. The normal physiological pH is 7.4, and if the pH decreases, it is known as acidic or acidosis, and if the pH increases above it, it is known as alkalosis. Now, there are two main components of the blood, plasma and cells. The plasma makes up the majority of the human blood, about 55%, and the different types of blood cells, red blood cell, white blood cell, and platelets, comprise about 45%. Of the plasma, we need to know that 90% is water and 10% consists of other things such as proteins. Now, if we come to the plasma and delve into its various components, we'll know that apart from water, there are inorganic ions such as sodium chloride, which is commonly known as table salt, and it makes up two-thirds of it. Now, plasma proteins. Plasma proteins are made up by the liver. The liver, as we all know, is helps in clotting. The main plasma protein which is made is thrombin. Thrombin helps in clotting by converting fibrinogen threads into fibrin. Now we need to know that fibrinogen is soluble in nature, whereas fibrin is insoluble. Therefore, fibrin is made, which helps to seal up the wound which is made. Next are immunoglobulins. Immunoglobulins help to protect the body by making antibodies against the various pathogens which attack the body, such as bacteria or immunoglobulins such as bacteria or even the foreign body material. Now are the nutrients such as glucose, amino acids, and lactic acid. Now is not the nitrogen, the waste. The major waste which is produced is urea, which is excreted through the kidneys. And finally, hormones are we could in the topic of endocrinology. We covered the hormones in detail, but the foremost hormones are insulin, adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So you need to know that these are the seven principal constituents of plasma. Now, if we come on to the types of red blood type of blood cells, there are three types of blood cells: red blood cells, the white blood cells, and platelets. So the RBCs are the most common and most numerous in the blood. We need to know that in their immature form, they are first formed in the bone marrow, and they have a lifespan of about 4 months or 120 days. We studied their structure in detail, how they don't have a nucleus and they're circled by concave shape so that they have a large surface area. Previously in the chapter, now we should know that males have more amount of red blood cells in comparison to human females. Now, if we come into white blood cells are colorless. And what question is, why does red blood cells have red color? It is because of hemoglobin. So white blood cells are formed in the bone marrow and in the lymphatic tissue. They are larger in size than the red blood cells. They have a nucleus, and the major function of them is obviously to attack the pathogens, and this they help in immunity. Now, platelets functions in this clotting. Is the clotting of blood? They are also known as thrombocytes. They are produced at the bone marrow, and their shape is basically of cytoplasmic fragments. Similar to red blood cells, they don't have a nucleus. Now we need to know that the normal concert range of platelets in the human body ranges from about 150,000 to 450,000. And in various viral infections, it drops to below 100,000, such as in dengue fever. Also, if the platelet count decreases below 10,000, spontaneous bleeding occurs, as well as red patches on the skin and even internal bleeding from the organs. Now we'll be studying about the white blood cells. So what the white blood cells are basically categorized into two main categories: granulocytes and agranulocytes. Now, there's the mnemonic to help you remember which are granulocytes and which are not granulocytes. The word Ben, the word Ben simply covers the granulocytes. It covers basophils, xenophils, and neutrophils. So why we name them as granulocytes? Because in their cytoplasm has granular shape. When I say granulocytes don't have a granular shape. Now we will talk about the different types of white blood cells. There are five types of white blood cells, namely neutrophils, xenophils, basophils, monocytes, and lymphocytes. Now we need to know that the majority of them is neutrophils, and they are present in the most plentiful amount. Also, another distinguishing factor which is repeatedly asked in the exam is that neutrophils, unlike other white types of blood cells which are mainly bilobed, can have more than two or even up to five lobes. Now we talk about their function. The function of neutrophils is simply to in the destruction of the small particles, whether it be microbes or even foreign bodies, with the process of phagocytosis. We covered phagocytosis in detail about how a phagolysosome is formed by pseudopods and it engulfs the material and it later destroys it by lysosomes or enzymes. Second is eosinophils. Now, the most important factor of eosinophils is that they are mainly released in an allergic reaction. So eosinophils basically release all the mediators which help to vasodilate, such as histamine, interleukin 4, bradykinin. They simply cause inflammation in the human body. How this inflammation helps is that it attacks the parasites and helps to recruit more amount of neutrophils that impedes the movement of the pathogens or the parasites further towards the body. And now basophils also have a function similar to xenophils. They also cause histamine, a histamine release. Now you need to know that the histamine release is responsible for the repeated sneezing and in the anaphylactic attack in humans. Now monocytes are basically the immature form of macrophages. They are present in the blood and similar to the function of macrophages, they also destroy large particles by phagocytosis. Lastly, come lymphocytes. There are two types of lymphocytes, B and T lymphocytes. B lymphocytes are involved in the production of antibodies against the bacteria, whereas T lymphocytes act by simply killing the bacteria. So this is an important difference between B and T lymphocytes. Now, we are already discussed the function of platelets above, how they can help in the conversion of fibrinogen into fibrin, help this seal the wound. I will now tell you some of the most important functions of the human blood. Firstly, there is a maintenance of osmotic balance by the human blood. You need to know that the most important protein present in the human blood is albumin, as it helps to bind. If there is a deficiency of albumin in the human blood, it will lead to edema. Then, apart from that, the blood helps to transport the various nutrients and oxygen gas to the different organs of the body, such as the brain, the human heart, the kidneys. Without receiving nutrients and oxygen, they would simply die. As we talked above, that the pH of the blood is specific about 7.4. The blood helps to retain homeostasis, which means to maintain the internal body conditions of the body. In cases of hyperpyrexia, if the temperature of the body reaches above 107 Fahrenheit, the enzymes would become denatured and hence the person dies. Likewise, the blood also has an extremely important function in immunity. All these neutrophils and monocytes and macrophages reside in tissues. So these neutrophils and monocytes will travel by the blood How do they reach the bacteria or the invading organism? They travel through the blood, obviously. Finally, is the exchange of materials. For the, we all know that how the process of respiration works, as we studied previously, that oxygen and how oxygen goes into the alveoli and carbon dioxide is diffused away from the alveoli and breathed out. So without blood, in all, we cannot simply survive. Thank you.